In this video, we are checking out the brand new Hosim 10th scale brushless four-wheel drive truck. This is the X-08. I love testing out these new kind of more budget-oriented, helping people get into the hobby vehicles. So let's get this thing out of the box and see what features we have. In the box, we do have a controller. Looks like a good size, actually. Surprisingly good size, if I'm honest. Let's see here. You have trims. We have reverses. We have on-off. Clearly, we still need to put 4 AA's in it. That's not a problem. Standard budget controller, but has everything on it that you need. It does come with an accessory pack. It includes a nice little carry handy bag here. Something's inside of it. Ah, you got some little cleaning tools. Look at that. An extra spare body clips because you're always losing the body clips. So it's got the extra body clips and a cleaning tool in the little bag. In here we have our wrench, more body clips, plus some extra nuts. Looking good there. Warranty information, so it does have a 1-year warranty. I'm curious what that all really covers, but we do have that and how you can get in touch with Hosim for spare parts. It does have your basic USB battery charger, and then the manual itself gives you some decent information here. It looks like on the basics of how to run the vehicle, troubleshooting, which is helpful, very, very helpful. And then one of the things that I really, really like, part numbers and names and what should be included for each one of the parts. So if you do break something, they have all of the parts plus exploded diagrams right here. And let me be very clear, there's some big name brands out there of RC that don't do this anymore. So for Hosim to actually still do this and to provide it, to give you an idea of how the vehicle goes together, what the part numbers are, and what you need in order to fix it if it ever breaks, that is really, really awesome. That is a great thing to provide in here for a manual. Very valuable. Onto the vehicle itself. Really, really, really brightly colored body here. You are not going to miss this one anywhere at all. That is a very, very bright body. Super power, lots of graphics on it. I mean, honestly, looking pretty good straight out of the box. Tires are big. Nice and squishy, a little bit of a hard compound, which honestly at the end of the day is probably a good thing, as it will help with durability. And sometimes with vehicles like this, traction is not your friend. You do want it to be able to slide. You do want to have some of that. So tires are feeling good. Wheelie bar with some give here in the back, so kind of help absorb some impacts. Looks like nice strong bumper. Let's get the body off. See what we find underneath it. Whoa, look at the batteries on this thing. So they've actually got strapped down here 2 batteries in for this vehicle. 2S25C 2600 milliamp hard case, so you're less likely to hurt them, with a T-plug Dean's connector, large gauge wire. Awesome. I'm going to get these things on the charger so we can get this driven. But I mean, big deal there with how they're going to mount the battery. It looks like, I'm guessing, that if you wanted to just mount one battery at a time, you could probably use just this one strap because it is encompassed nicely in a plastic case. Otherwise, if you are trying to run 2, which I would never really recommend, they do provide the ability for a strap to go around it like this. We noticed that smaller scale brushless motor up here. So it is not your normal 540 can. It is a smaller brushless motor, but honestly, the truck doesn't weigh a lot, and it's borderline a little bit small for 10th scale. So this motor will probably be just fine, especially based on the experience. This is the X-08. There's an X-07 that came in front of it that was a little more truggy looking. Same kind of setup and did just fine. Compared to the previous iteration of this vehicle, the X-07, this one does have a couple upgrades on it. The heatsink on the motor is new and an add. This whole steering assembly is an upgrade, should be much stronger. And then different designed front bumper. The other thing I'm noticing here, true to some recent Hosim experience, those are actually oil-filled shocks, and they feel pretty dang good actually. Sometimes with more budget-oriented vehicles like this, you will find non-oil-filled shocks, but here we are with oil-filled. Front and rear metal drive shafts all the way around. Look at all the metal that we have here on this vehicle in the right spots. You don't want metal control arms. You want them to be able to flex. You want metal drive shafts. You want metal hubs. You want metal hexes. So they have learned from their previous experiences and done this exactly as we would want it. You even notice the metal steering components in here. The little plastic for flex, but you have a metal steering horn and you have a whole metal steering linkage up here, going again to metal hubs right here on the corner. This is really good. You don't find these components as metal on many more, much more expensive brands, and yet here they are providing it at this price point. It does have a smaller scale servo here on the front, and this is a receiver and ESC 2-in-1 setup, which is pretty common to see in this level of vehicle. But do note, it has a lot of ports on here. So we have the fan port for the ESC itself. We already have one port plugged in, so we do have an LED little light bar up here behind the grill, which is awesome. They actually give you 3 more ports here just ready to be used. So another one for a fan in case you want to put it on the motor itself, and then 2 here for additional interior or rear lights. That is awesome. Already just ready there to be used if you are looking for them. But wait, there's more. I didn't even realize this. I realized a lot of times these bodies have a plastic on them. So I came out here to start to try to peel the plastic, and haha. So if you're not a super big fan of the pink and green, which is very eye-capturing, and I kind of actually like it, there is a blue and red underneath there. Look at that. So 2-in-1. These bodies do tend to be something that you do break over time, so the fact that they're giving you 2 of them is really nice. Enough talking, let's get this thing battery in it and give it out and get a first drive. Oh, it's not gonna make it. Can it now handle 3S? That's noticeably faster on 3S. Front flips are us. Oh. Oh. Oh, I did it! We are back from the skate park. How did this Hosim do? Honestly, really, really well. You saw me hit that thing 3S, huge, crazy jumps, and it's absolutely driven home. Yes, it's got some scrapes on the bumper. The body actually lived. It took some damage right here in the rear. It looks like it compressed enough to actually hit the shock towers. ESC and motor are running very strong. I've scraped up this bottom aluminum as to be expected, like I said, with the bumper and everything. Wheelie bar withstood a lot of hits. As far as I can tell, visual inspection on the outside here, there is nothing physically wrong with this truck at all. And that's after a really, really nasty skate park session. I mean, let me be honest. 3 batteries through it, including a 3S LiPo, which did not come with it. I put a 3S in it, and it took it, and oh my gosh, was it much faster on that 3S. Now, I will note, both left side tires, for some reason, the wheel nuts wanted to come loose, and so I had to multiple times during the session tighten them up, and I'm not really too sure what that is about. But for some reason, both of these were loosening, both of these were fine the whole time. If you listen really closely in on the video, you'll hear some clicking every now and then. It sounds like, I can't see anything wrong with the drive shaft, and the diffs seem fine. It's almost like it's an input gear on the front or rear that is allowed to skip a little bit. Like maybe the tolerances are just a little bit loose and it will skip. It didn't do it until I was on 3S though. I drove this truck, and both of my boys actually drove the truck also. The thing that we all noticed was that the steering spring in here is very, very stiff. And so that was a little bit unusual, and so it took us a little bit of getting used to. And then the ESC power, it's like there's a delay, so you hit the throttle and it really ramps up the throttle for you, which is good for durability standpoint, but sometimes a little bit for control is a little bit questionable. Lastly then came from the factory, the ESC is set with a pretty strong drag brake, and what that means is that when you let off the throttle, it'll go ahead and start slowing down even if you haven't hit the brake. That is a great feature for a novice user. So a lot of the times I find when I first hand a controller off to a kid, they will be pretty bad about getting on the brakes in time, and they kind of expect it to slow on its own. So it's really good. What that means, however, is that when you're jumping, a lot of times you will jump a truck and in the air you'll let off the throttle in order to let it just kind of sail, and you don't want to be on throttle when it lands. But the strong drag brake that this car has means if you do that, if you let off, it's gonna bring the truck down and it's gonna make it crash. And you probably saw some of that in the video footage that we captured. So that means you have to stay on the throttle in the air. It means it's a little bit harder on the driveline and the gears because it's physically putting power through them when it hits the ground. So I'm wondering if that might be part of that clicking that we're hearing. Overall, this truck did really well. If it can withstand all that abuse and punishment that I just put it through at that skate park, for 90% of the other folks out there who are going to be driving it around in their yard, grass, gravel, asphalt, pavement, all that kind of stuff, it's gonna do great. It has great power, it has great speed, good controllability, all that kind of stuff. I think the majority of folks would have a really fun time with this truck. If you're interested in this vehicle itself, I'll have a link to it down in the video description where you can buy it. Otherwise, if you're looking at any other vehicle reviews that I have done, I'll have a playlist over here to your right where you can see those and check out all those. So I'll see you in those videos. Thank you and goodbye.